Prologue, Gloomheart. The sun bled into the rolling hills, painting the familiar slopes in shades of sickly crimson and bruised violet, colors that felt less like twilight and more like a fresh, festering wound across the sky. It was a beautiful lie, that sky, a cruel mockery of warmth and peace. We rarely looked to the heavens for anything but portents, for the gathering storm, or for the grim promise of frost biting at our meager crops. But tonight, the second moon, the Gloomheart, didn't merely rise, it clawed its way into the firmament, a jagged obsidian blot. It was rimmed with a hellish glow, a constant flickering ring of sickly orange and red that mirrored the inferno within a blacksmith's forge. It hung there, a monstrous, accusing eye, a malignant presence that seemed to swell with each passing moment. It wasn't like Luminary's Echo, the first moon, that vast, silent rock hundreds of miles across. Luminary's Echo, with its gentle, persistent luminescence, a diffuse alien light against the swirling nebulae of the Octran cosmological background, used to offer a faint, cold comfort, a distant, indifferent gaze in the long nights. Luminary's Echo was a watcher, perhaps, but the Gloomheart was a predator, always nearing, always watching, and the knowledge of its malevolent gaze felt like a tangible weight on one's shoulders. Ever since the Gloomheart had swallowed Celestia's heart, the third moon, a memory now fractured and hazy like a fever dream, a protracted, agonizing celestial drama that had stretched our nights into an unnatural, interminable twilight. The very air of the chronal blight had grown thick with a silent affliction. This place, once whispered to be untouched by time, where faces remained perpetually unlined and decay never claimed its due, had become a mausoleum of the mind. The anomalies, those shimmering aberrations of light, grew not just in size but in frequency, blooming like ghastly, silent flowers of destruction across the landscape. At first they were small, distant gleams like feverish eyes watching from the darkened fields, fleeting and easy to dismiss. Now they were vast, expanding ruptures of radiant, devastating light, impossible hues of emerald and violet, molten gold and electric blue, that pulsed with an unholy energy before collapsing inward with a silent implosion, leaving behind only the chilling void of absence. One felt them, not just saw them. A cold, prickling sensation on the skin, a phantom dread that whispered of unraveling. A dreadful certainty that something else was pressing in. A vast, indifferent horror just beyond the veil of what our limited senses could ever hope to perceive. The very fabric of reality seemed to hum with an unsettling, disharmonious tremor. And the people, that was the true horror. A slow, insidious rot of the spirit, more terrifying than any plague. The faces I knew, once etched with the simple worries of daily life, the price of grain, the chill of winter, the hopes for spring, now bore a terrifying emptiness. Conversations would cease abruptly, eyes staring vacant, fixed on unseen horrors or forgotten memories. Hands fumbled with familiar tasks. Voices would dissolve mid-sentence, replaced by a hollow echo. We called it the forgetting sickness, and though it was less a sickness and more a slow, calculated erasure, a creeping fog had settled into the minds of everyone, a dense, suffocating shroud that clung to thought and memory, and the dreadful certainty was that it would consume us all. It was as if our very thoughts, our unique essences, were being siphoned away by an unseen, gluttonous entity, leaving behind only husks. The world was being unmade, not with a bang, but with a horrifying, quiet unraveling, and we were all caught in its relentless current. I awoke with a strangled gasp, the sudden jerk of consciousness more violent than any nightmare I had ever endured. My small dwelling was a tomb of cold, the faint, struggling glow of the coals in the hearth doing little to pierce the oppressive gloom. But it was not the cold that had wrenched me from the clutches of sleep. A voice heavy and resonant like a bell tolling from the depths of a grave, a sound that resonated not in my ears but in the very bones of my skull, still echoed in the hollow chambers of my mind. Find the calligrapher. Fear, cold and immediate, coiled in my gut, yet beneath it a strange, terrible obligation took root. It was not a dream. Dreams, like whispers in the wind, fade with the rising sun, leaving only a vague, unsettling residue. This was a presence palpable and chilling, a command etched into the very marrow of my bones, a psychic imposition that felt undeniably external. It felt like something had reached into my sleep, past the fragile defenses of my conscious mind, and plucked a fundamental thread from the tapestry of my sanity, leaving a raw, exposed nerve.